Holy fucking shit. So Avengers Endgame tells the story of our remaining heroes trying to find a way to undo the catastrophic events of Avengers Infinity War, set the universe right, and finally defeat Thanos. My God, people, we are here. We are at Avengers Endgame. For all intents and purposes, the finale of the Marvel Cinematic Universe up to this point. We felt like Infinity War was that, but it has nothing in comparison to Endgame as far as finality. We are here. I saw the movie last night. I actually had to sleep on it. Not that I had complicated feelings about it, but I was so pumped walking out of this movie that I wanted to kind of let my emotions temper a little bit so I didn't come in here and be like, ah! 11 years, 22 movies, all coming down to this. Now, let me say before I even get into my review, this will be 100% spoiler free. I'm going to be as vague and as informative as I possibly can, try to find that good little middle ground there, but I will not be giving any specific details away because that is the best way to see this movie. Unfortunately, I was one of the very few, the very lucky few who made it to this film without having it spoiled on the internet. It sucks that we live in a time where there are actually multitudes of people that are that low, that pathetic, and just that ridiculous that they actually get joy from ripping joy from others. They go out into random threads that have nothing to do with Avengers Endgame, post-Avengers Endgame spoilers, just so they can sit back and watch people that wanted to go into this movie and have the most joy possible by not knowing anything, having that ripped away from them. If you're one of those people, unsubscribe to my channel. Don't come anywhere fucking near my videos anymore because you are not a part of this movie fan community. You're not a part of my fandom. You're not a part of my subscriber base, and you can just go back to your little basement. Now, with that being said, like I said, no spoilers whatsoever in this review, but I will encourage you. Even though I'm going to keep this spoiler free, I will encourage you to not watch any reviews before you go and see this film. Go and see it and then come back. And I promise you, you will have the best experience possible knowing as little as possible watching this film. But if you don't care about that, or if you've already seen the movie, or if you're somebody that likes to know all the details before you go into a movie, even though I'm going to give you very little, let's get into it. Avengers Endgame, what did I think? So starting right off with the positives, let me say, which is kind of a positive more in the marketing for this film, but it also kind of ties in with how secretive and how well they were able to craft the story and keep details away from us. God damn, it is refreshing to walk into a film with so many surprises that I did not know any when I walked into it. Especially, recently we had the Pet Sematary trailer that decided to give you the entire film's plot on a platter. It was so refreshing to walk into this film and get, I don't even think it was halfway through this film and realize that, hey, all the footage that they've shown us in the trailers has already gone past. There is nothing in the second half, possibly the last 2/3 of this film, that was in the marketing. That is how you should market a film. You can get everybody so excited and give us such little information while giving us great images and great tone in a trailer and get our asses in the seat without giving us the entire plot. Bravo, Avengers Endgame. You should be like Avengers Endgame. Everybody else that does marketing, take fucking note.
I keep telling everybody they should move on. Some do. But not us.
Now moving into the actual movie, I will say this film has probably the most exciting and just heart-pumping moments that I have seen in not only a Marvel film, but a comic book film in years. I have not been so excited and so enthralled and so glued to the screen and had so many moments in a film where I literally wanted to jump up and shout and put my hands and be like, fuck yeah! I haven't had that emotion with a Marvel film probably since Winter Soldier. I mean, there's been a lot of great Marvel films since Winter Soldier, don't get me wrong. Some of them are in my top 5, but there has not been a film with so many moments where I'm like, this is awesome, since Winter Soldier. Endgame has at least 5 or 6 of those moments where the whole theater erupts into applause. I wanted to jump out of my chair. There probably was people jumping out of their chair that I didn't even look at because I was so glued to the screen. This film has so many awesome things in store for you that if you're even a mild fan of the Avengers franchise or the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this is a must-watch. Going along with that, this movie also has some of the most emotion and some of the most deep stakes that I've seen in this universe. Despite how much I really enjoyed Infinity War, I think I have it at number 4 or number 5 in my ranking. Really enjoyed that film. I'm one of the few that didn't really get those emotional heartstrings that a lot of people did. Like when everybody started to get dusted in the final act, I didn't really feel anything. I was like, oh, well, that kind of sucked, but I knew all of them were coming back, especially when certain characters started to disappear. I was like, they've already got movies in production. They're coming back in the next one. So I never really had that huge, gutted feeling that some people walked away with Infinity War. I had that feeling with Endgame multiple times. Even in the opening scene, the movie opens with really showing you how dark the stakes are from the ramifications of what happened in Infinity War. And just from that opening scene, I was like, wow, this film is hitting me emotionally. And again, I have not had that type of response from an MCU film in a very long time. And this film really does go for the jugular in quite a few spots, and it works. Now, without getting too specific, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has kind of become famous in a way for taking different subgenres of film and kind of molding them into a comic book film. Like Winter Soldier was like a 70s spy thriller. Ant-Man was like a heist film. Avengers Endgame tackles a subgenre of film that is one of my absolute favorite subgenres of filmmaking of all time. As soon as I knew this is where they were going with the storyline, I was enthralled. I was happy. All the little tiny tropes and jokes that come along with that subgenre, they're here, but they're utilized very well and they're played for pretty good laughs. And they also have a lot of depth and emotion that comes along with that too, which is also kind of a trope of that genre. But it was really fun for me as a fan of that subgenre whenever I realized where Avengers Endgame was going as far as its storytelling, that's where they were going to be going with this. So again, can't tell you what it is, but when you see the film, if you realize where they're going to be going with it, if you're as much of a fan of that genre as me, they do it very well. Now let's talk about some characters. This isn't going to be too specific, I think, but if you are somebody like me that was slightly disappointed with how much Captain America we got in Infinity War, he was kind of regulated to the background a little bit, and it was more about giving everybody screen time. Avengers Endgame really does make up for that. It makes up for it with a lot of characters, but especially for me as a Captain America fanatic, I loved how much focus he got in the story and the action scenes and some of the comedic scenes. It really does, as a bridge from Infinity War to Endgame, feel like they kind of balanced the scales quite a bit with Endgame with how much Captain America we got, as well as the other characters too. So there's plenty of everybody else. It's not Captain America's movie. This is not like Civil War where it's very Captain America focused, but for me personally, if you watch my review of Infinity War and you walked away with that same negative, they right the wrongs here in Endgame. Captain America is the shit in this movie. There is one moment with Captain America that is the moment that it took every bit of composure that I have as a human being not to jump up in the theater and be like, yeah, bitch, you see that shit? Fucking Captain America! In keeping with characters, despite the fact that I think Infinity War was probably the best version of that movie you could have possibly gotten, admittedly, it jumbles a lot of different characters. You got the Guardians of the Galaxy, you got the original Avengers, you got all these new Avengers, you got Wakanda, you got so many characters that they jumbled in that movie. They did pretty damn well with all of that. Endgame, being that half of humanity is gone, feels much more focused. It feels much more character focused. It feels like it has much more of a flow. You get to spend a lot more time with your original Avengers, save for a couple of the new characters like Ant-Man, like Nebula, but you get a lot more focus in this that you're only focusing on maybe 7 or 8 characters versus like 30. So the movie flows a lot better story-wise, tone-wise, pacing-wise, and character interaction-wise for me personally. And the last thing that I will say regarding the characters in this film is that they do a damn good job at wrapping up the storylines of certain characters, and they do a damn good job at setting up the future for certain characters. Like any character that gets any sort of finality in this movie is a very fitting and beautiful conclusion to their story. The characters that we are basically told in this film are going to be carrying on into phase 4, 5, 6, however long they're in the MCU. They leave them in a very interesting place, either emotionally or story-wise, to where there's a lot of possibilities and a lot of interest for us fans on where those characters are going to go post Endgame. So there's a really nice balance there of closing out certain character storylines and wrapping up certain plot threads that have been hanging for over 10 years, and also giving us a lot of things to look forward to and a lot of hints of where things are going post Endgame.
Even if there's a small chance, we owe this to everyone who's not in this room to try.
Let's talk about Thanos a minute, because I guess I need to talk about him before I get away from characters completely. Without giving away too much, I will say that he is utilized more in the traditional villain in this film than he was in Infinity War. Infinity War, for all intents and purposes, was Thanos' movie. That was his storyline. It was about his struggles, his sacrifices, his ideologies, and our Avengers were kind of the surrounding characters within that story, but the story focus really went to Thanos in that film. In this film, they kind of reverse that, as they should, where we get to spend a lot more time focusing on our heroes and their struggles and the ramifications that they've been dealing with since Infinity War, and Thanos is regulated to being more that villain, that epic big boss battle that we have to get to. So I think they utilized him really well in the story, especially if you like bookended and watched Infinity War and immediately watched Endgame as like one complete story. It really does balance the scales very well with him, much like they did with characters like Captain America, where between the two films, it feels like they're utilized very well in two different spaces. And I have to give credit where credit is due to the Russo brothers. I have to admit, the one thing that I was a little bit nervous about walking into Endgame is the fact that these guys are on their 4th consecutive Marvel film. It's kind of a rule in the movie-making universe that if a director or a writer or a filmmaker or any kind of creative person sticks to one type of property for too long, their exhaustion starts to show. We've seen it in so many fantastic franchises. Despite the fact that I love it, Spider-Man 3 disappointed a lot of people. Despite the fact that I really like it, The Dark Knight Rises disappointed a lot of people. There is world-class filmmakers that have to have that kind of, third movie slump because they've just been stuck on the same property for a while. And I was really worried about the Russo brothers having that because they're on their 4th property by this point. They did Captain America Winter Soldier, they did Civil War, they did Infinity War, and now they're doing Endgame. And I'm here to tell you that this is going to be in the conversation for their best film. Like, you guys know how much I love Winter Soldier. That's why I say it's in the conversation, because it's going to be very hard to top that film for me. But for some of us, people are going to walk away thinking that this is the best of the Russo brothers films. And that is entirely refreshing to see creative people like that are able to stick to a creative property this long and still inject so much greatness into it. So as far as the way that they directed the action scenes, as far as how they crafted this story and really bookended a lot of things, not only from Infinity War, but from the last 11 years of Marvel films, even little subtle things that they decided to bring back, which is just a great, heartwarming, smile-inducing thing for us fans that have been trekking along with this entire universe from the beginning. The way that they're able to pull, for certain characters, the probably best performance that they've ever given in the MCU. You will know what I'm talking about when you see certain characters and go, wow, they were great all along, but this is like a new level of awesome with what they're delivering with their performances. The Russo brothers, as directors, I don't think they could have done a better job with this film. Now moving on to the mixed aspects, of which I really only have 2. One is dealing with the subgenre of film that they are tackling with Infinity War. While I love that subgenre so much, and while I think they do a damn good job at utilizing it, it brings a lot of smiles throughout the movie for me personally and other fans of this genre. They utilize and kind of poke fun at the tropes very well while executing this very deep storyline. It does also bring along some logic issues that are pretty much always present in this subgenre. And if you think about it too long, you're going to give yourself a headache. So to a certain degree, you do have to kind of shut your brain off a little bit and just go along with the rules and the storyline and the way that they're telling you things are supposed to work out in Endgame, because it doesn't 100% make sense. But it doesn't take away from the enjoyment of the film whatsoever. It's not like it's this huge gaping plot hole. It's not like you're sitting there going, that's bullshit, that's bullshit. It's not like that at all. You almost enjoy the fact that they kind of bend the rules a little bit to get certain conclusions out of this story. But there are some logic issues there. And the second one is something that I harp on probably in every single Marvel film, and that's the humor. There's really well-placed humor in this film. There's not very well-placed humor in this film. There's moments that make the entire theater erupt out of laughter. There's moments that make the entire theater go, that wasn't very well executed. The biggest thing, though, that I will say about the Marvel humor that they really need to like start to kind of rein themselves in with a little bit is that they have a problem with letting the humor kind of undertake the drama, what is going on, and kind of undertake the tone that they're going for. Endgame is a very deep movie. It's a very down movie. Like, this is about half of the entire universe, half of humanity, half of our heroes being dead. Families being dead, children being dead. And it's just like, that is really deep stuff. And there's moments where they really go for it. They really make you feel the depth of that situation. And you're like, wow, I thought it was crazy when I saw heroes being dusted, but now that they're showing kind of the grand scheme of how this has affected the universe, it feels even worse. And that is what they should be doing. But they undercut that sometimes by doing that and then immediately throwing a joke in there. Or doing that and then undercutting the same exact character that's having this big, like, deep emotional response to what has been going on by throwing in some kind of a joke in their expense.
I like this one.
And with that being said, moving right into my negatives, the biggest negative that I have with this film, which goes along with the humor, is that there are two characters in particular that I'm not going to name that basically get reduced to jokes in this film. One of them, the third act, he becomes himself. And so it's really just the first 2 hours that he feels like a joke, and then he's redeemed at the end. You're going, that's what I wanted from this character. The other one never gets that redemption. He's basically played for laughs the entire film. And it's a very big disappointment because these are two of my favorite characters in this universe. And if you're somebody that these are your absolute favorite characters in this universe, you're gonna walk away a little pissed off. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, everything, despite how awesome this movie is, despite how many great moments there are, despite how epic it is in every sense of the word, despite how many things that they really just knock out of the park with Endgame, those two characters to me were big missteps. And it goes to the humor. They're played for jokes. The joke is funny initially, and if they had just utilized it as this initial joke whenever they're first kind of revealed to be that, then it would have been fine. If they had kind of transitioned back into their regular characters and were utilized the way those characters should be utilized by the end of this film, especially when things really start to go chaotic in the third act, then it would have been fine. But to utilize them throughout most of this movie, and for one character the entirety of this movie, as a visual joke, to me, that's disrespectful to the fans of that character. That's making your humor go too far. And that's just not really understanding those characters, in my opinion. So it was, in hindsight, it's not something that ruined the movie in any stretch for me. It's not something that I'm going to like cringe at every single time I watch this film. It's just an initial disappointment because being that this is like the end, this is the end game, they could have utilized every character in the most extreme, awesome way possible. And it's a little disappointing that they actually made the conscious choice not to bother with one character and to tease you throughout the entire movie with the other character possibly not getting there, which luckily they redeemed a little bit. But all in all, guys, I will be doing a spoiler-filled review probably tomorrow where I'm gonna go much more in depth with the things that I loved, things that I did not like, all the things in the middle. But wrapping up these hopefully extremely spoiler-free thoughts, I loved Avengers Endgame. This is the most fun, the most like emotional response that I've had from a Marvel Cinematic Universe film in years, even more so than Infinity War. And I feel like I might be in the minority with that. I feel like a lot of people probably will prefer Infinity War slightly because there's a little bit more action and there's more characters. But for me, everything that Endgame delivered, it delivered in spades. All of the conclusions to certain characters, I thought they did absolutely beautifully. Setting up certain characters for the future, the way that they really utilized the emotion and the depth of what is going on, and they didn't play it all for laughs and make it like it's not really a big deal, we're gonna fix everything by the end or anything like that. No, they really make you relish in how dark of a situation this is. And that's a nice little departure for the MCU. So the way that they utilize the subgenre that they go for, so many of the surprises that they had in store for us in this film that they kept out of the marketing, thank God. So many things about Endgame that I have not walked away this happy with the MCU film in years. So that's all I'm gonna tell you. Hopefully you've already seen the movie when you see this. If not, all I can tell you is you have to see Endgame.
We will. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
So if you're a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if you saw Infinity War, if you want to know what the hell happens next, please do not waste any more seconds talking to me and get your ass to the theater to see this. And as soon as this thing comes out and hits the shelves, go out and buy it. So what do you guys think of Avengers Endgame? Did this movie land for you? Do you feel like Infinity War was better? Were you disappointed with some of the conclusions? Do you have the same gripes with those two characters? And I'm sure everybody is going to know exactly what two characters I'm talking about. Or did you actually like the utilization of those characters? And let me also say this. Please do not be a dickhole and put spoilers down in my comment section, because you will be deleted and you will be banned from this channel if you are one of those assholes that I talked about in the beginning. Talk about it spoiler free, or if you want to go into spoilers, put a big ass spoilers tag, make a couple spaces, try to be courteous and considerate of your fellow movie fans. And if you are somebody that does not want any spoilers, all I can do is suggest that if you want to leave a comment, leave the comment and leave. Do not look at the comment section until you have seen this film. That is your fair warning. That's about as much as I can do to help you. But for everybody else, please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. If you guys want to check out some social media links, you could check out down below in the video description for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Spreadshirt for Cody Leach t-shirts and other merchandise, and my Patreon page, which is a great way to give back to this channel, help this channel grow and get cool exclusive content for your eyes only if you decide to become a patron. Like this weekend, where I'm going to be doing a patron live commentary of Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. They also get Blu-ray digital copy codes. I give those away to them every single week. And they also get the privilege of requesting reviews and requesting certain videos depending on what tier they go to. So check all that out, guys, if you would like to, please. And if you want to check out some more of my videos, including past MCU reviews, rankings, all that good stuff, you can check that out by clicking right over here.